Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the SoCal Sports Dudes podcast. Jason Wen here. Today, I wanted to talk about the NBA trades that just went down. There were a number of players mentioned to be on the move, rumors of various scenarios, having this player go there or that player going here. So let's take a look at what happened recently here. The Sixers and Nets made the biggest trade of the deadline deals. The Sixers acquired James Harden and Paul Millsap from the Nets for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and a couple of first-round picks. Looks like both teams really did well with this. I mean, this Nets real quick get Simmons, who's been holding out this year, but gifted player, handles the rock, plays defense, rebounds. I mean, makes the passes that make your head spin. Shooter in Seth Curry, get some front court depth there with Drummond. So not bad return for the Nets. And in exchange for Harden, who sounded like he kind of wanted out there in Brooklyn. It's part of that big three, of course, but for whatever reason, it was just time for everybody to go their separate ways. Daryl Morey, of course, is the GM of the Sixers, always acquired Harden previously when he was with Houston, so he's kind of been the guy that mentioned was the key piece in the deal. If Morey was going to move Simmons, his eyes were kind of fixated on Harden. He got his man, had to give up a pretty good price there to get him, but it looks like a trade that can work out for both teams. Harden gives them that dynamic second star scorer to go with Embiid. Simmons, I think, is a good fit for the Nets with complements both Kyrie and Durant if they're healthy. Seth Curry gives you that shooter, so Drummond up front, so not a bad deal. We'll see which direction or how these teams each how productive they are after this trade, because they're both obviously in the playoff race there in the East, but will this propel them up the ladder a little bit prior to hitting the playoffs here? So it's going to be fun to keep an eye on for sure. Washington and the Dallas Mavericks made a trade. The Mavs ship Porzingis to the Wizards for Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. So Dinwiddie, real quick, did not seem to work out too well. And Washington started off there, looked like pretty high hopes. There's your point guard to replace the departed Russell Westbrook. Looked like a sensible move at the time. Didn't quite go as planned, and I don't know, they just felt it was time to move on. Bertans, of course, a big man who could shoot threes, pretty good, valuable player to have, a big man who could shoot from distance like that at the rate he does. In exchange for Porzingis, I mean, he was with, of course, burst on the scene there with New York. Knicks fans weren't all that happy when they traded him to Dallas, but I mean, him and Doncic, they had their moments, but it didn't look like it was the perfect fit. So you can see why Dallas was kind of all right, ready to maybe move on if the price was right, or if someone's willing to take on the rest of this salary, which was sizable. Porzingis, another thing, a gifted player, and potentially this could be a home run for the Wizards, but he does, you have to take on that contract and the injury risk there. He tends to get injured from time to time, and sometimes more often than teams would like. So durability is kind of a concern there that I think Dallas was just like, okay, let's make a move, and we'll put another sidekick with Doncic, and we'll look at a different options there. Boston and San Antonio made a trade. Boston gets Derek White, solid point guard, combo guard type to plug into that backcourt. Good move for Boston, man. They got a pretty solid roster now. In exchange, they give up Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and some draft picks there. So San Antonio gets back some, Josh Richardson's done a pretty good job this year. Future draft capital. So Derek White, not a bad player, but San Antonio said, all right, the price works for us. Let's move on from him. Boston also acquires Daniel Tice from Houston, a guy they're very familiar with, of course. Was their starting center and will just kind of be a plug-and-play guy. I'm sure he's going to be familiar with the Celtics' way of doing things there. In exchange, for Tice, who they acquired from Houston. They give up Dennis Schroeder, Bruno Fernando, Enes Freedom / Cantor, formerly Enes Cantor. But it sounds like both Freedom and Schroeder might be buyout candidates. So probably just a cap type move by the Rockets to get a couple players, maybe buy them out and just kind of clear some space there. 4-team trade here: Sacramento, Detroit, the Clippers, and Milwaukee. Sacramento acquires DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles, and draft rights to a gentleman or player I haven't heard of. Sorry, I can't pronounce the name either. Detroit gets Marvin Bagley, the third, who former second overall pick in the draft, picked ahead of a couple of star players that year, but looks like he has some upside, just hasn't quite worked there in Sacramento. Maybe Detroit can get more production out of him than Sacramento was able to. It seems like every time you heard again and again, Sacramento was looking to move on from Bagley, so now he finally does get dealt. And Sac getting DiVincenzo, he's a pretty solid player, man. Athletic guy, wing type who can hit some threes. So Clippers get Rodney Hood, Ojale, and a draft rights to Marinkovic. Rodney Hood, I don't know how much playing time he's going to get there. Is he a buyout guy? I'm not sure on that. Milwaukee gets Serge Ibaka in that deal. Potentially could be a nice fit for them. They did need some help in the front court there, especially at the 5 with the Brook Lopez injury. The DeMarcus Cousins things kind of worked out for a little while. I guess they didn't really want to hold on to him long term. So Ibaka can, if he's healthy, I mean, he's had, it sounds like some back issues the last year and a half. Does that affect how available he is for them? They also get a couple of second-round picks in that. Milwaukee does. They get a couple of second-round picks in 23 and 24. So we'll keep an eye on where those end up, what spot in the draft those end up being. Charlotte and Washington make a trade. Hornets acquire Montrezl Harrell, good solid backup center from Washington in exchange for Ish Smith, Vernon Carey, and a second-round pick, which is top 45 protected. So, okay, 46 and after, then you get it. But, yeah, I guess Washington had a little bit of a void there with a ball-handling guard after moving Dinwiddie out. Okay, they had a couple of extra centers. Harrell's, a very solid offensive center off the bench. Charlotte is a team that has kind of been linked to him in the past. They never quite made a move to get him, but here they are, and they acquire him, and let's see, he can plug and play. I believe he's actually from that region of the country too, so maybe it's kind of a homecoming for Trez there. Maybe Charlotte's got the minutes and the need for a guy to plug at the 5 spot there. So it looks like it's got some definitely a good offensive player to have on board. Toronto and San Antonio made a deal. Toronto gets Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a 2022 first rounder, which is top 14 protected, in exchange for Dragic and Toronto's 22 first rounder. So that's top 14 protected. So Dragic, it sounds like, is going to be bought out with San Antonio. So we'll see where he ends up going. Obviously last year, before he was with Miami, and they dealt him to get the Kyle Lowry trade. He was a key piece in that trade. So will he return to Miami? I think he still has maybe relationship or connection with that franchise. You also hear a lot about the Dallas connection there with Doncic. So that fellow countryman maybe can join forces there in Dallas. Dallas kind of does have a little bit of a, I don't know, they get, they have Brunson, they get Dinwiddie. Dragic, does he want playing time? Does he just want to go there to be there? Can you move Dinwiddie to kind of the off guard kind of thing? We'll see. It's interesting, I think, to see, because Dragic is going to be in demand. There's going to be a number of teams, I think, that are going to be interested in him, adding him to the roster, especially if you can get him on the buyout market. It's up to him though. What does he want? Does he want more playing time? Does he want to, be on a team? I'm sure he's going to want to look at a contender, get bought out and go play for a team that's headed for the lottery. That usually doesn't happen. So most likely headed to some contender. Which contender is the right fit for him? We'll keep an eye out for. So a lot of teams, like I said, are going to be interested in his services. Phoenix and Indiana may trade. Phoenix gets Torrey Craig, 3-point shooter, who actually was with them recently, and then in exchange they give up Jalen Smith and a second-round pick. Jalen Smith maybe didn't really get off the bench too much there in Phoenix. Big guy, kind of stuck. There's a number of players there in front of him, so maybe by going to Indiana, there's some playing time available, and we can see what he does there. Phoenix also acquires Aaron Holiday, give him some point guard depth there. They get him from Washington for cash. How much cash? I don't know, but always nice. Cash is king. So Orlando and Boston made a deal. Orlando acquires Bol, Manute's boy, all right, PJ Dozier, and Boston's 2028 second-round pick. That's quite a few years down the road there, but in exchange, they get Orlando's 2023 second-round pick. So no players back to Boston. They just wanted to offload a couple guys, it looks like. Probably, cap reasons, I'm sure, save some money, free up some, maybe a couple of roster spots for some of these other players that are coming in with these other trades they made. But yeah, Bol, I mean, it's kind of like, he's at Denver, didn't quite get the playing time. He's behind Jokic. He goes to Boston, didn't hear too much from him, and here they are. They move on from him already. Now he goes to Orlando. As we know, Orlando's got Mo Bamba kind of at that spot. So how much playing time does Bol get? We'll see. But it looked like coming out of college, I mean, it looked like Bol had some abilities. I mean, I remember Manute, man, big man who could, hit those 3-pointers. He was kind of like Don Nelson's pet project, man. But dude, it was a 7'6" guy who could just, swat shots. He's like King Kong swatting the airplanes down, man. Just go in the paint and Manute's gonna block you, man. And then he kind of developed that little 3-point shot, man. He had that kind of funky action on his shot, and man, he would sprint down the court. It'd be like 3 steps. Manute would be all the way down court. Whoosh! It's like, dang, man, big old long strides. I mean, it's funny. But anyway, Bol, I thought, all right, cool. Chip off the old block here with some skills. Got looked pretty good at Oregon. Had some ability to shoot from downtown. Dad's boy, I thought he was going to be a contributor here, but it's kind of weird. Teams don't seem to give him an opportunity to let him play and see what he can do, which he showed flashes in college. But we'll see. Orlando, where they keep him, I don't know how much he plays. Again, we'll see. Sacramento, Indiana, pretty big trade here. Sacramento gets Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and Indiana's 2023 second-round pick. Late protections in that. In exchange for Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. Sounds like Thompson might get bought out real quick. Just put that in there. But, I mean, Halliburton, man, that's a kind of surprising. Sac would want to move on from him. This guy looks like he's got a lot of abilities. I'm sure Indiana's happy to get their hands on him. Buddy Hield, a good shooter. So you get Halliburton with Hield. You already have Duarte. You have Brogdon there in the backcourt. That's pretty solid little quartet there to have in the backcourt. Sabonis, of course, a good player to give up, or one of the stud front court players in today's game. So, but Sacramento did have Rashawn Holmes. So, okay, you had 2 point guards there. It looked like 2 ball handling type guards with Fox and Halliburton. But maybe what can you have maybe gotten something different in return for Halliburton instead of kind of saying, okay, let's do this and get Sabonis over here. It's like, okay, Sabonis is a great player, but you just wonder, is that the trade Sacramento willing to make? But in history, Sacramento's made some trades where you're going, what are they doing this for? So we'll see if this one works out for them. Portland and the Clippers made trade. Portland gets Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a second-round pick in exchange for Norman Powell and Covington. 2 gifted players there. The Clippers are adding to their team. Powell, of course, is a UCLA guy. Has had some success there in Toronto and then with Portland, but it didn't. They just acquired him. It seemed like just a year ago for Trent, and now they're already moving on from him. Covington, 3-and-D type of guy, isn't quite having the year we've seen him have in years past when he was with Houston and Minnesota before that. But We'll see. I mean, maybe plug him into the Clippers. He fits a role, and has particular minutes set aside for him. He could be a contributor there, especially with George and Leonard kind of looking like they're not. I don't know. George maybe will come back, but Leonard maybe not coming back this year. So Clippers, I mean, they're keeping themselves right in contention with these kinds of moves. And when you get George and Leonard back, I mean, that's going to be a pretty stacked roster there. So keep an eye on that. Portland was busy. They also got traded CJ McCollum. Finally, that's a name they've been talking about. Are they going to do it, not do it? Do they break up this Lillard, CJ, combo? And they finally did. They send McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Snell to New Orleans for Josh Hart, Satoransky, Alexander Walker, and it looks like a New Orleans' first round pick in 2022 that has some protections in it. Also a 2027 second round pick from New Orleans. Nance, of course, is unfortunately he's going to be out for a little while. He had, it looks like, some knee surgery. New Orleans is taking on some money in this deal. Portland looks to be clearing cap space to plan their next move. I don't know what that exactly is, but now New Orleans, maybe they're going to, who knows, man. My Lakers are just kind of, plateauing, flatline there, stuck at the 9 spot, can't seem to get out of the mud. They're like running in the mud, like stuck. And New Orleans, with Ingram and McCollum, and I mean, who knows, man, they can make a run and catch these guys. And they get Zion back, I mean, watch out, right? They got the fresher legs than the Lakers do. Yeah, in Portland, I mean, I love Josh Hart, man. Of course, when the Lakers had him, I was like, oh, can we do this Anthony Davis trade without including Josh Hart, please? And he had to be part of it. So I was like, damn, all right. So anyway, Hart, solid player for Portland. I'm sure their fans are going to love him. Just effort, solid defender, man. Good guy too. So they get a good piece there. Is the value? I mean, are you getting enough value back for McCollum? I don't know. I mean, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But sometimes some of the moves they make don't seem to get equal value. They ship out a good player and you get back less, like 50, 75 cents on the dollar. Like, okay, if you want to do that. And then they kind of makes the, less than, stellar draft picks sometimes. We're going like, all right, Lillard and McCollum, of course, were 2 great draft picks. But aside from that, you kind of look back on it, you're going, well, some of these pieces you guys have added, man, are, I don't know, other options maybe, right? Portland also, again, made another deal here, trading a couple guys they acquired. Satoransky goes to San Antonio. Alexander Walker goes to Utah. So here's how it breaks down. Portland gets Joe Ingles, Elijah Hayes, a second-round pick from Memphis. Utah gets Alexander Walker, Juan Hernan Gomez, and San Antonio gets Satoransky, who I understand might be a buyout candidate, and a second-round pick in 2027 from one of 4 teams, it looks like. So I don't know where they determine what that pick is, the weakest, the strongest pick. We'll see how that goes down. Cleveland, of course, acquired Karis Levert from Indiana. Levert, solid player. Cleveland having a very good year. Add a guy like Levert to the mix. They can use, they need some backcourt help. Front court is looking really solid with that group of guys they got, with Allen and Mobley. And, you put Levert down in the backcourt, gives them some scoring punch, and they could maybe really stay in the thick of this race and maybe knock a couple of the heavyweights out there come playoff time. We'll see. They also get Miami's 2022 second round pick, which was, I guess, Indiana had them in exchange for Ricky Rubio, Cleveland's first round pick of 22. So that's a top 14 protected, but looks like it's not going to be falling in the lottery there. And then also a couple of seconds in the future, one this year and one down the road. So not bad though, I guess, for Indiana. They get some draft picks. You get Rubio's expiring deal. You maybe got some potential cap space there to have some more flexibility. Get some draft picks, draft capital there. So hey, Levert, and as we mentioned before, they had the getting Heald and Halliburton to go with Brogdon and Duarte. So there's already a lot of depth there in that backcourt. Levert, kind of an extra, I don't know how many guards you need. I mean, built like the Lakers, where you have like 6, 7, 8 guards on your roster. We're going, okay, let's play them all at the same time, and we'll have a nice little 6-3 lineup out there. I mean, I don't know. I think that's look like a pretty good move for both teams, in my opinion. There, of course, earlier Rajon Rondo got traded by the Lakers to Cleveland. I don't remember them getting back much. I think they were just clearing out a roster spot, for Stanley Johnson, who's done good. I like what I've seen out of Stanley. I was looking forward to playoff Rondo, but we got to get to the playoffs for playoff Rondo to emerge. So who knows if we'll even get to that point. Stuck at the 9 spot, man. I mean, what can you do? They made no moves at the deadline to do anything. It was like stuck in the mud, as I said. OKC and Miami made another minor deal. I'm not really going to touch too much on that. I don't think it's going to play, have a big impact on the remainder of the year. A number of players who are mentioned to be possibly on the move have stayed put. Jeremy Grant, Miles Turner, John Collins, Harrison Barnes. You heard those names might be possible on the move. Rashawn Holmes, THT and Westbrook from the Lakers, and Kendrick Nunn. Kemba Walker, Alec Burks, Terrence Ross, Gary Harris. They're with Orlando. So yeah, those guys stay put. We'll see, if they get moved maybe in the summer here. Are some of them movable? Do some teams now decide to hang on to some of these guys because some of the other moves that they made? Are some of these guys even movable? We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. And there'll be a number of guys also who are either have been waived or will be waived and enter the buyout market, where they can be free to sign with whoever they like. Most of them, I'm sure, are going to be looking at contenders, and if there's a role or a spot for one of these contending teams, great opportunity for some of these teams that are up in the upper part of the standings to score or improve their roster at the with the buyout market. So some interesting names to keep an eye on: DJ Augustine, DeAndre Brembry, Monty Brooks, just to name a couple. Possibly Enes Freedom, Dennis Schroeder, maybe Dragic. So do those guys get bought out? And if they do, I'm sure teams are going to be lined up over there saying, hey, well, we didn't, maybe they didn't make as many trades or fill some of those voids, or they have some of these guys are going to be intrigued by the possibility of landing with a contender and making a run here in the playoffs. So, but yeah, it was a kind of a fun time there, man. Keeping our heads are spinning there with all the deals were made and listening to the, Shams and Woj bombs and all the whispers of potential moves and player movements. So, it's worth asking, did all these teams that made moves, did they really fill the voids on their rosters that they were looking for? Teams that were kind of sellers at the market, did they get back the return they're looking for and help them position themselves for future, moves or the direction they want to take teams? Maybe they want to clear space. Do they have the space now to sign the guys they want to sign? Did teams give up too much? You're kind of still a lot of things that kind of stem from this whole trade deadline thing. We'll have to kind of see how it all plays out. But yeah, I love it, man. There's some of these teams that needed to improve, made some moves to really kind of go for it and make a push toward the playoffs. Other teams decided, let's just hit the reset button, move a few pieces around, maybe provide more roster flexibility, maybe clear some cap space out, acquire some draft capital, which can be beneficial whether you're drafting players or whether you're using that for trade in the future. And quite a bit going on there, man. It's kind of fun to watch and keep an eye on. Me, of course, being a Laker guy, I was waiting for something to happen. They didn't really do anything. Sounds like AD and Braun weren't all that thrilled, I guess, with the approach there. But hey, it is what it is. As I mentioned before, this is the roster you guys put together. You bake the cake, now you eat it. So, hey, here you go. Enjoy. It's like you don't have a lot of flexibility with some of the way this roster is assembled. So I really didn't have too much in terms of expectations in terms of what they can really do at the trade deadline. But nonetheless, it was fun to kind of see. Now we'll keep an eye on the buyout market. We'll keep you posted if anything real interesting happens there. And thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you again real soon.